David Salomon here, everyone, from Simply Splendid Productions. Thanks for joining me. Working from home, we've got parrots in the backyard. You probably hear them now, but today what I want to talk to you about is the changes that I'm making in setting up my system for recording live presentations and interviews. Now I'm just looking over to the side here where I've got my monitor to bring up my notes. Here we go. So in the past I've used the normal system to record interviews. Camera on tripod, record the interview, take the footage back to the edit suite and put it all together with graphics and titles and introductions and music and so on. But recently I've made a sharp pivot on the way I'm doing things in this area, and moving to live recording and live streaming. And what that means is that rather than recording the video and then taking it to the edit suite, I'm setting up my graphics and introductions and everything in advance, and then bringing that to wherever we're doing the recording, the presentation. And in these days of social distancing, means that I need to keep my crew very small. It's a crew of one at this stage, and we get together with one or two other people in the space so that we can record those interviews. Now, it means that everything has to be set up in advance and played out into the video stream as it is being recorded. Now, you used to have an AV van, like at the sports, to do this not so long ago, with lots of wires and cables and big cameras and great expense to do that. But now I'm doing it on a minimal amount of hardware with one camera, an iPad, an iPhone and a laptop, or in this case I'm using a Mac Mini right now. And I can put everything together in software more or less, and it saves an awful amount of time in the edit suite. By the time we turn the camera off, it's virtually completed. Just a little bit of trimming, and we're ready to go. Now I'm just checking that I have a notification to see that the email is all from the email to say that this stream is all going well. Now, I want to take you through the hardware that I'm using right now. There's a few changes to come, but it makes it's a very different workflow than what I've had in the past. Now, I've just brought up comments. I can see if you're making some comments on the stream here. Please say hello. Let me know where you're from. And it'd be great to see you here. So in terms of hardware, I've got an older Sony EX1R, which is a sort of an entry-level professional camera, 1080. It's aging now, but certainly good enough, and in fact far better than what you need for streaming. It has an SDI as well as an HDMI output. I'm using SDI at the moment. It's a little bit more robust in the signal, and you can do longer runs than you can with HDMI. And I'm running that into a Blackmagic Design mini recorder that converts the 1080 signal into a digital stream to come into my Mac. Now, I am using a Mac computer, and the software that I'm using is only available on Mac, though there are equivalents, I guess, or near equivalents, available for PC as well. So we've got the video into the computer. Now, as well as that, we have our presenters talking from a slide deck. And what I want to do is include the slides in the video while the actual presentation is happening. And so I'm using, in fact, an iPad mini. I don't have it here with me at the moment. An iPad mini and Keynote to play that into the computer. That's just a USB connection, and everything plays through pretty well seamlessly. And I have one other device, and that is this one here, an iPhone. And on that you will see that I have, in fact, a control surface. I don't know why that message came through. I actually have Do Not Disturb on the moment. At the moment, that's supposed to stop messages. Nevertheless, we'll carry on. And so this is basically a screen with buttons on it that relate to the functions that I want to invoke in the software. And then I have a single screen here connected to the Mac Mini. And that's nearly it. The audio is being routed through the camera, through SDI, and coming in sync with the video. That's an important thing. If I brought a separate microphone feed in through USB, say, we would find that we would have be out of sync video and audio by maybe 2 to 5 frames, something like that. So it's much easier, and particularly with this Sony camera, to just route it all through there. It has got a good quality interface, and we know that that's going to take care of the audio, provided we aren't getting any background noise happening, which does happen at times. So let's move on a little, and I want to talk to you about the software. Or one other thing, I bring a little bit of extra lighting into the room that we're using. I've got a couple of soft boxes. It has down lighting, which isn't my favourite by any means, but it's what's available. And so I bring in a couple of soft boxes for fill to overcome the shadow on the face that is cast from down lighting. It's not all directly vertical, so it's not too bad, and we can get away with that. Now let's talk about the software. I'm using a program here called mimoLive. It used to be called Boinks TV in the old days, and I really like it. Let's talk about that a little more in the moment. I want to talk about this iPhone first, because it is actually a video source as well as being a control surface. And the way that I'm managing that is through NDI. NDI is a new video protocol, and it goes via a network. So you don't need to have all the extra cabling and so on, like SDI or HDMI. You can just plug it into a router on a local network, and you'll find the video coming in. In most instances, it's self-configuring. It's plug and play virtually. However, the downside of it for me is that if I have too many video sources coming into the computer, that's going to create a heavier load there, and we'll start to hear fans and those sorts of things interfering with our shoot. So I like that. For that reason, I like the wide connection, SDI, HDMI. But one source from a phone is not too bad. And here I'm using a little app called NDI HX Capture. And I'm just starting it up here. It's just an app on the phone, and it comes up and it says in fact, I had it running already, but you can use that then with what it does is it sends out the iPhone screen as a as a video source. Let's take a look. We'll go in here for a sec, and this is what we were seeing a moment ago on the screen. Now, I've just confused myself here a little bit because I've got two things running. This is the control surface, and it was the last frame running for when I had that happening before. And I'm not sure if we're still going to see things working here, or whether that's just actually a frozen frame. So, but that's what it looks like. That's the iPhone screen here, and you can see I've got access to all the features that I want to use. This is the play out screen here in the top right corner. We've got a camera source, audio source, an iPhone as a video source. We've got lower thirds, and let me show you that. Lower thirds and background pictures. We've got a countdown timer. I can adjust that on the fly. We've got buttons to go live, to start and stop the show, and so forth. So let me just see here. Yes, it's connected. So what I'm doing here is just pressing these buttons, and this is called a 2D presenter, and it takes the main source from the main camera and puts that in a picture-in-picture or a small window, and then you can choose any other source to fill the screen on the other side. And at the moment I'm using the input from the phone here to show that screen. A few things can get a bit confusing there. So that's the iPhone, and I'm going to just go out of that for the moment. I can use this control surface. It's actually very convenient when I'm operating a camera. I usually have the iPad and the iPhone nearby. The iPad is very simple. It's just showing a slide deck. So tapping on that will move it to the next slide or the next action. And then I'm also controlling the video that's been laid to disk from the phone. So we have a camera source, and then the other graphics that are coming in from mimoLive. Now, I'll leave this on for the moment here, and I'm going to go back to the NDI app and to stop broadcasting there now. And so that will be a frozen frame. I'm going to back out of the mimoLive remote app, which is the control surface for the app, and I'm going to go into this other one here, another NDI you know what, I'm not going to be able to show you that, I don't think, because I've already used up that that shot. Let me see. Are we getting? I have to turn it on. Here we go. Oh, okay. So what I have here now. Let me just switch sources here. Now that's the iPhone. Let me just switch over to the iPhone altogether. Now the iPhone is being used as a live camera source. You can see the screen that I'm looking here. It looks very complicated because we're seeing screens inside the playback window as well. Here I have the Sony EX1R, and I have my Mac Mini, a hard drive that I use to record to. So that's pretty useful. I could set that up as an alternate video source, and you know, have a two-shot going there. At the moment, it's just a little bit more useful for me to have the iPhone as a control surface than as a second camera. So I'll turn that off and close that app down. So I don't actually use that in the that second camera in my recording of videos. I use the phone just as a control surface. I could use the interface of the software itself. Problem with that is that it requires a mouse or a keyboard to do that, and the buttons just make it so much easier, particularly if you've got them color-coded or an icon. Very easy to find your way around. It also has that play out of the program feed to check that that everything's going all right within the app as well. It also has bars for adjusting audio levels, which I haven't used as yet. Mostly in the work that I'm doing, once the audio levels are set, they don't require much more than that. Occasionally I do go back to the camera to bring the levels down if I need to. Now, let me just go back to my notes once again. So the software, so just to run through that now, how that recording might happen. We have a presenter with a slide deck talking to camera. We'll have another person generally who does an introduction for a minute or so at the top, and a thank you at the bottom of the video. The presentation is being thrown up onto a projector, onto a screen behind them, though that is operating independently. I actually just follow their as they change slides, I follow them on that. I do want to bring another feed in. I haven't quite worked out how to do it yet, from the projector, so that all happens in sync. It may actually be that we do away with the projector for two reasons. One is that the projector always introduces unwanted noise into the soundtrack, and secondly, the projector is very bright in the background, and so it does present problems with lighting the speaker. That's the next project that I'm looking into. Perhaps having a confidence monitor connected to my system, and the presenter maybe have an iPhone or something like that to control my iPad that is doing the slideshow. That would work just as well. I've tried that. Just at the moment, though, it would mean it would take away one of my controlled surfaces. So I haven't implemented that. Into the program, I put a program introduction, which is a short video clip, and then also introducing lower thirds into the stream as required. Now, to give you an example of those here, let me bring one up. I'm just opening up that app once again, the Mimo Remote.